when I spoke to Henry Rollins about a month ago,
Uh-huh.
and I strongly believe, aside from Henry, you are the only other person that can answer this. Do you ever feel jealous or angry, if not both, on how fast it is for someone to get recognized today, unlike when you started out starving for what you were doing?
No, I didn't seek to be recognized, and I wasn't starving for that reason. I wanted to be a part of a family, and I wanted to make music, and I didn't want anyone to tell me how to live my life. That's what I was starving about.
Okay,
That's
awesome.
I was not thinking like I got to be famous. I want to be a rock star. I've never thought about that. I'm still not thinking about that.
And you're still kicking like after all these years too.
I'm still working. I mean, I'm working today. I do my work.
Yeah.
I mean, Amy and I were practicing earlier today. I also got a guy over here. We're pulling down a ceiling, and we're like, I'm working.
Yeah.
I got a record label I'm busy with. I actually am committed to sort of the mission of the label, which was to document something that was very, very important to a lot of people. And so many labels start on this sort of like in a premise of like, well, we're going to put out these records and show the world this scene, but then at some point they kind of just morph into another goddamn business. They might as well be selling donuts or something. I actually want to have a company that starts out on one basic mission and sees it to the very end.
Right.
And since this label is actually connected to a community, and since communities are living things, then this label, when the community dies, this label eventually will die as well, and that's fine. In the meantime, using that premise, it's worth noting that I got, we'll be 29 years old in December.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's pretty long for a label.
Yeah, especially for an indie, too.
Right, and a label that I still have, 4 employees or 5 employees who all get health care and reasonable money, and, it's like, it's pretty interesting when you think about it. And so it's not, I think that, Discord, being a punk label, I think a lot of people are like, well, you can't really make any money from that. Yeah? Well, fuck, what the fuck are you talking about?
I've done it for almost 30 years now.
Right. So
or you've done it, I mean,
Right, so I think that to answer your question, like there are people who may appear punk, who are suddenly, or punkish or whatever, who are suddenly thrust into the, they become hugely popular or so fast or whatever, and I don't think twice about it, honestly, because it's always been the case. It's just that when I first started, the people were getting instantly famous for people with like feathered hair and stuff.
Right.
It was like, we could go back. There were people selling more records. What year were you born?
84.
All right. There are people in 1984 who are selling way more records than who are the famous people today. That you've never even heard of.
Right.
And I couldn't even remember.
Come on, Aha was a huge band.
Right, but even other bands that were like playing weird like power ballad stuff that you wouldn't even you can't believe, and you're like, what? There's like bands that like you would think you hear this name like who? I don't know, but they sold 5 million records. You're like, God damn, like how can that be? But it's just advertising,
Right.
You got to remember, this country, we have over 300 million people living in this country, so it doesn't really take much to if you get enough advertisements in place, you got to remember these people, millions and millions of people watch television shows about people losing weight. Something's really wrong there,
Or Flava Flav getting a girlfriend.
Right, exactly. So if the people are that, since I don't look at television to speak of, and I don't listen to major label stuff, I'm not really plugged in like that.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I'm in a conversation where suddenly it will branch off into this really heated discussion about like somebody, Tyler. I can't believe Tyler, what he said to somebody. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? It's some show about a date, or I don't even know. But there's such a subtext, and I think this has a lot to do with people who are working all the time. That it's like a way of
relief,
kind of connecting each other, because they can all talk about what appears to be the story going on like around them. Well, if that many people are watching those kind of shows, why is it a surprise that like suddenly everyone like for like a minute, all
right,
like this one band
likes a certain act? That's true.
I will say that there are occasionally I will hear a band that is selling millions of records or whatever, hundreds of thousands of records, and everyone's so hyped on them. And I listen to them and I think, wow, like, I mean, they can play, but what I really wonder is, like, what is it that people hear? And I think it's just, it's like a fingernail deep, It's just, and it's the case because, I mean, so many of those bands are instantly forgotten.
Right.
They fly up, they fly down. It's, that's it. And I think that, but since that was never really my desire, why would I be bothered by it?
True.
I think it's just nothing new. But I mean, think of it like this: like I've been playing music for 30 years, right?
Right.
And in that same time, there have been probably, I don't know, dozens, maybe 100 NASCAR race cars who have made millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I should be as upset about that as I should be about people on major labels. It's the same difference to me. It's just a different. It's a different line of work. I'm just not in that field. They may be playing guitars, but it's like the same way that McDonald's makes food.
Right, that's true.
And I'm not trying to be dissing those people. I don't mean to do that. I'm not being dissing.
No, and it wasn't meant to be like that.
I'm just being straight up. I just think I can't be concerned about it. When I got into punk rock in 1979, I turned the radio off forever.